Maria's alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., the faint glow of dawn barely touching the horizon outside her small apartment window. She lay there for a few moments, staring at the cracked ceiling, summoning the strength to get up. Her body ached from last night's shift at the diner, but there was no time to rest. Another long day awaited. The apartment smelled faintly of coffee. In the kitchen, Maria's son Ethan sat at the table, hair sticking up in all directions, still wearing his pajamas. He was trying to butter a slice of toast without making a mess, a losing battle judging by the crumbs scattered everywhere. "Morning, sweetheart," Maria said, forcing brightness into her voice. She poured him a glass of milk, ignoring the dull pang in her stomach. She hadn't eaten dinner last night again, but it was easier to say she wasn't hungry than admit there just wasn't enough food. Ethan glanced up, frowning. "Mom, did you eat?" She smiled and kissed his forehead. "I grabbed something at work." The lie rolled off her tongue too easily. She had become an expert at hiding her sacrifices. He was only 10. He didn't need to carry the weight she bore every single day. After breakfast, she packed his school bag, checked his homework, and hurried him out the door. As he waved from the bus window, Maria stood on the sidewalk for a moment, breathing in the crisp morning air. The world kept moving, unaware of the battles fought in quiet corners like hers. That evening, Ethan bounded into the apartment with a smile so wide it lit up the room. "Mom, guess what?" He pulled a crumpled flyer from his backpack. "The school's starting a music program, and they need a violin section. I told Mr. Thompson I can play." Maria took the paper, reading the neat print. She could see the sparkle in Ethan's eyes. Music wasn't just a hobby for him. It was his escape, his passion. But then her gaze fell to the last line. "Participation fee, $500, includes lessons and instrument rental." Her heart sank. $500 was nearly half their rent. She kept her voice steady. "That's wonderful, Ethan. I know it's a lot," he said, almost reading her mind. "But I could practice all the time. I could be really good, Mom. Maybe even win competitions someday." Maria tucked the flyer into her purse. "Let me think about it, okay." That night, after Ethan went to bed, Maria sat at the kitchen table under the dim light bulb, bills spread out before her. Every number screamed no. There was no room for extras, no matter how much her heart ached to give Ethan what he wanted. She closed her eyes and whispered, "There has to be a way." A week later, Maria walked into a small pawn shop on the edge of town. In her hand was a velvet box she had kept tucked away for years. Inside was her mother's gold locket, delicate, engraved with tiny flowers, and carrying a photo of Maria as a little girl pressed against her mother's cheek. It was her most precious possession, the last physical piece she had of the woman who raised her. Selling it felt like tearing away part of her own heart, but Ethan's dream, that was worth more than anything she owned. The shopkeeper, an older man with kind eyes, examined the locket. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "Are you sure you want to sell it?" Maria swallowed hard. "Yes." He counted the bills and placed them into her trembling hand. As she walked out, she felt the absence of the locket like a weight in her chest, but her sacrifice didn't go unnoticed. Mrs. Green, their elderly neighbor, happened to see her leaving the shop. By the time Maria returned home, whispers had already started. Some assumed she was desperate for money. Others speculated she was in trouble. Maria ignored the rumors. She handed Ethan the receipt for his music program fee that evening and simply said, "They were looking for someone to cover extra shifts. We can afford it now." His hug made the ache in her chest feel lighter, at least for a moment. Months passed. Ethan practiced tirelessly, filling their small apartment with the sweet sound of music. Maria often sat in the corner after work, letting the notes wash over her, erasing some of the day's exhaustion. Then came the big night, the regional music competition. The auditorium buzzed with chatter as parents, teachers, and students filled the seats. Maria sat in the front row, her heart pounding as Ethan stepped onto the stage in his neatly pressed shirt, violin in hand. He played with a passion that stunned the audience, his bow gliding across the strings like he was telling a story only his heart knew. When the final note lingered in the air, the crowd erupted into applause. When the judges announced the winners, Ethan took first place. He clutched his trophy, and instead of a simple thank you, he stepped to the microphone. "This is for the person who believed in me more than anyone, my mom." He turned to her, eyes glistening. "I don't know how she did it, but she made this possible." At that moment, Mr. Thompson, his music teacher, leaned into the microphone. "And now you will." Maria sold her most treasured possessions so Ethan could be here tonight. That's what true love looks like. Maria froze, shocked. She had never told Ethan the truth. The room went silent, then erupted into a standing ovation. Ethan dropped his trophy and ran into her arms, his small frame shaking as he whispered, "I'll buy it back for you one day, Mom. I promise." Years passed. Ethan grew into a talented young man, traveling the country as a professional violinist. He sent postcards from every city, each one signed, "For my biggest fan." On a sunny Mother's Day, Maria sat in her living room, sipping tea, when the doorbell rang. Ethan stood there, now taller than her, holding a small gift box. "For you," he said softly. Inside was a gold locket, identical to the one she had sold, but with a small violin charm inside. On one side was a picture of Maria and Ethan from his childhood. On the other, a note engraved, "For the woman who gave me everything." Tears blurred Maria's vision. She hugged him tightly, feeling the warmth of all the years, all the sacrifices, all the love they had shared. Ethan smiled. "You taught me that love isn't about what we keep, it's about what we give. And I'll spend the rest of my life giving back to you." As they sat together, the sun streaming through the window, Maria realized that the locket she had once lost had returned to her, not just in gold and metal, but in the life and heart of her son. Final message: sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones we hold in our hands, but the ones we plant in the hearts of those we love. Maria's journey was a testament to the power of a mother's love, a love that gives without counting the cost, sacrifices without hesitation, and believes without doubt. In giving up her most cherished possession, she gave her son something far greater, the courage to dream and the chance to soar. Years later, when Ethan placed that new locket in her hands, it wasn't just jewelry. It was proof that love, when sown in sacrifice, always returns in abundance. The story reminds us that true wealth isn't measured in money or possessions, but in the lives we touch, the dreams we inspire, and the love we leave behind. Maria's sacrifice changed Ethan's life, but in the end, it was Ethan's gratitude that completed the circle, showing us all that kindness and selflessness never go unnoticed, and love, in its purest form, always comes back home.